before we begin, I would like to point out that, yes, even though I'm recording this in broad daylight, it's the evening in the game. The reason for that is because I was testing something out on my computer that doesn't have anything to do with this game, so that's why it's the evening in this game. I'll probably go back and change it once the recording for this video is done. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, yep, another marathon has come and gone. Much fun had been had. I pity those of you who didn't come because you really missed something. And, yeah, where do I begin? It's always the same thing. There was so much stuff going on. I'd say beginning with the end would probably be the best idea. Ultimately, they managed to catch all 251 Pokemon in a heartbreaking time of 72 hours and 4 minutes. Yep, there was another photo finish, but unfortunately we were on the losing end this side. And the reason why that happened is because, well, they to get Celebi, they were doing a really hard-to-perform glitch that I'm going to link a video that explains how the glitch is done in the movie description, so that you get a better idea. But even then, I don't think you're gonna understand how it works. I certainly don't. At least, it's the kind of glitch that, you know, you're just wondering, how the hell did they figure that out? It's just so absurd, you know, transforming a Sneasel into a Celebi using 4 good clones and a bad clones and shit? How's anyone supposed to figure that shit out? Well, someone did, and in the end they managed to pull it off, but it took so many freaking attempts to get that bad clone done, because apparently having a good clone is a lot easier than having a bad clone. Yeah, don't ask, it's really counterintuitive. You'd think it would be the reverse, but the way the game is programmed, well, I guess that's it. Good clones are much easier to obtain than bad clones. And even at that, it's not that step alone that prevented us from doing it in under 72 hours. It's the fact that to perform this glitch, you need something that knows beat up in the third slot of the moveset. However, in Generation 2, only one Pokemon learned beat up by level up, and that was Sneasel at level 57! Yep, so they had to grind the Sneasel all the way to level 57. That's higher than any other Pokemon evolves, except nowadays for Volcarona and Hydreigon. But other than that, level 57, you don't get much higher than this. And yeah, they had to do it. And just by the way, how come Sneasel learns a move as bad as beat up so freaking late? That just makes no sense. That absolutely blows my mind. But anyway, they programmed it this way, so we had to make do with it. And yeah, as you might imagine, it took forever to raise the Sneasel to level 57, because Generation 2 is the least friendly when it comes to grinding. Only 2 trainers go above level 50, those being Blue and Red. And for the rest, endless Elite Four runs, well, you gotta make do with Pokemon in the 40s, except for Lance's 3rd Dragonite, which is level 50, but other than that, it's really not a whole lot of experience compared to other Elite Fours in the series. So basically, it took most of yesterday just to get Celebi, and yeah, it took so long that we just barely missed it. But that doesn't matter, because ultimately, the ultimate goal was to raise $15,000 for the fight against Lou Gehrig's disease, a goal which has been accomplished as usual in the dying hours of the marathon, because it's now a tradition. They auction all sorts of stuff at the end of the marathon, and usually those items are going to go for hundreds of dollars. So that's how they usually reach the goal, with the auctions at the end. But that doesn't mean the other donations aren't important. No, every cent counts, because for a while it's I'm saying this every marathon, but for a while it didn't look like we were going to make the goal. But then we just sort of blasted through it at the end with the auctions. And still on the subject of the marathon, how could I put this? I think Charlie Sheen is going to have earned a little rest here. And the reason why I'm saying that is because for each marathon they have contests that they hand out prizes to whoever can get famous people to retweet about the marathon. And usually it's if the person who retweets has more than 20,000 followers, you win a prize. And in this marathon, they changed it for any combination of people that add up to more than 20,000. And naturally, as you might expect these days, Charlie Sheen is the only thing people are talking about. So, yeah, everyone went and tweeted Charlie Sheen about it. For not, I'm afraid. I think he's got better things to do than retweet about nerds doing a Pokemon marathon. Like, for example, injecting tiger blood into himself or whatever. And another thing about Charlie Sheen is that they took requests from people who donated for nicknaming Pokemon, and we ended up with like a half dozen of Pokemon named after Charlie Sheen, or one of the various names that came from him. So, yeah, there was a lot of Charlie Sheen to go around this marathon. And moving on to something else, I learned a cool trick from this marathon. It's in Gold, Silver, Crystal, so I'm probably not going to be needing that trick anytime soon. But if you're still interested in learning it, here goes. It's Lotus that tried to perform this trick in the marathon to no avail. But anyway, the trick is this. If you want to have a call from someone in your Pokegear, let's say you're looking for a Swarm or an Evolutionary Stone in Crystal's case, or even just rematches, what you can do is go back to New Barktown, talk to your mom, and turn off Daylight Savings Time, and then turn it back on. And when you turn it back on, often you're going to have a phone call from someone. Don't ask me how it works. I have no idea how it works, but it just does. When you turn on Daylight Savings Time, you'll usually have a phone call. Do this over and over and over and over until you have the call that you want. Of course, you gotta make sure that the trainer that you want to call you is actually in your Pokegear, because it's going to help a lot. So that's the trick. If you want to have a certain call, you can turn off Daylight Savings Time off and on again, and when you turn it on, you're going to get a phone call. Now, there was this really funny thing that happened in the marathon in regards to that, and it's the fact that Lotus tried this little trick to try and get a Snubbull Swarm to appear on Route 38. And that was one of the drawbacks of not playing Crystal, is that Snubbull is hyper common in Crystal, but it's ultra rare in Gold and Silver. Like, it's so rare, it's like 1% without a Swarm. Remember that Trace Ralph I was looking for early in the Emerald LP? Well, Ralph is 2%, so Trace Ralph is 1%. Snubbull is as rare as that Trace Ralph. So, in the end, he tried getting the call from Schoolboy Chad, because that's the name of the trainer who gives you the hint about the Snubbull Swarms, and after many, many failed attempts, he just said, screw it, I'm going to go to Route 38 and find a Snubbull with good old-fashioned elbow grease and keeping your fingers crossed that the RNG is going to go your way. So he went to Route 38, and after an eternity of searching, he found a Snubbull. Unfortunately, his sleeper, which was a Gengar named Brit, by the way, just because it had to be done, the Gengar wasn't in the lead and it had Hypnosis, so he switched to Gengar, and Snubbull ran away right away. So then they had to go search for another Snubbull, which took a freaking eternity once again, and eventually they found one, they caught it, and right on cue, right after the Snubbull was caught. Guess who called? Schoolboy Chad telling Lopez that there's now a Snubbull swarm on Route 38. I am not making this up. You can ask anyone who was there during the marathon. They will tell you it really, really happened. So now Schoolboy Chad is sort of a monument at the Speed Gamers because of that, you know, as the ultimate troll of sorts. Because, God, that was like the worst luck ever. Of all the calls he could have gotten, and at all the times it could have happened, it was that specific call from Schoolboy Chad right after he found the Snubbull. Now he used the swarm to find a second one because they needed two. One to keep as a Snubbull and one to evolve into a Granbull. But had the swarm not happened, they just could have bred another Snubbull and it wouldn't really have mattered. But it's just... God, still can't believe that happened. It's like when I saw it on the screen. There's a Snubbull swarm on Route 38. Right after he spent like 2 hours looking for the freaking Snubbull. And you know what? Once I'm done recording this, and it's probably going to be a double program, by the way. Once I'm done recording this, I want to go back to Justin TV's site and retrieve the footage of that happening. And another really fun thing that happened during the marathon was yesterday morning. It was James who was playing Crystal because the big prize was a copy of Crystal where every Pokemon caught during the marathon would be on the cartridge. And he was getting ready. He was going through the game before going on a catching spree of Caterpies and Pidgeys and Rattatas. And he went to the Lake of Rage, and right before trying to catch the red Gyarados, he went to the bathroom, and while he was going to the bathroom, what you gotta know is that he stationed the Lapras right behind the red Gyarados. So the way it looked like was that the Gyarados was like humping the Lapras was humping the Gyarados, or like doing nasty things to it, because you saw the Lapras wasn't moving at all, but the Gyarados was all like its animated sprite. It was like thrusting up and down with its mouth, opening and closing repeatedly, and it really looked like Lapras was doing nasty things to the Gyarados. And at the bottom of the screen, you could see an old man on the lake shore just watching and watching, and it was a pretty long trip to the bathroom because it went on for like 10-15 minutes, and everyone in the chat was having a great time, just taking a look at how absurd the whole scenario was, and with the old man looking on at the lake shore and all. That was absolutely awesome. Okay, now I still have more things to say, but I'm gonna cut this particular video short because there are still more trainers to fight on this route, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to fight another one in the time limit. I don't want to repeat the debacle that happened during the Sunny Shore gym, so I'm just gonna cut this right here, and I'll be back in a few minutes with more marathon recap, I guess.